Hello, everyone. My name is Curtis, and welcome to the Rude Awakening. This channel is dedicated to bringing the truth forward as I know it, as I live my life and the things that I've came upon, experiences I've had as a young person, sitting back watching and waiting for a lot of things to come forth, never seeing them materialize. I'm an old gentleman. Shoot, I remember when President Kennedy was assassinated. One of the main things that hit me as I saw those things unfold was how could they let the president get shot? To me, at that age, I thought it was impossible. They're supposed to be the most secured person on the planet. And later on, coming to discover that that event happened because of people surrounding him that betrayed him. And hopefully, President elect Trump is going to keep his promise and bring all of this out into the open. Excuse me, let me adjust this a little. Seem a little off. The channel is called The Rude Awakening because the greatest story that's going to be revealed to us is the existence of extraterrestrial life that's been visiting this planet, has been for eons. We've never been alone. We've just been given the illusion that we are. And one of the rude awakenings about this whole subject is how people who we have given our trust to have lied to us. They have manipulated us. We as a human species has been abused in many different ways by those not a part of the society, or might as well say from other parts, off planet, as well as those that have coordinated with these beings to enrich themselves, let's say. I've had experiences that I know without a doubt that we're not alone. And some may question my experiences as far as saying they were extraterrestrial beings. Well, if they weren't, at the very least, we possess technology as far as energy that we should not be living in the reality that we're living now. Meaning we shouldn't be using gas and oil for transportation, for energy to heat our homes. That energy exists. And I think we're at the crust where all of this information is going to come out. Because one of technology where we've reached, I think, a tipping point in order to advance further, a lot of these technologies are going to have to come out. But everything that we're going through now is tied together. This whole election that we just went through is tied to the ET visitation subject. Because though the gatekeepers that are in charge now, they don't want this information out. It's not about panic and we can't handle it at all. It's about the energy question. Because if they reveal and say, okay, they are here, we know they're here, they're coming here, well, everybody's going to want to know, where did it come from? What kind of energy are they using to get here? And why can't we use it to solve our problems? Quite frankly, this whole thing about the environment, uh, um, what do they call it? The term they use now, climate change. I believe it's within a cycle that our whole solar system goes through. All the planets are going through climate change. Um, it's it's nothing new. These are cycles that everything, in my belief, I believe that everything goes through cycles. Small cycle, large cycles. If you look back at the Mayan calendar, that was on a cycle. That's what they were talking about. So, with that being said, I believe the human race is going through a cycle that's getting ready. Well, we're coming into a cycle of positivity. You know, you can say, hey, let the good times roll. That's the way I feel about it. Uh, as far as the extraterrestrials, so above, so below, that means that those that have been visiting here, we have some that have our best interests at heart. We have some that don't mind one way or the other, and we have some that are that that have been and want to manipulate us for their own benefits. And some of these, when they come out and we understand what's really going on, is going to be quite disturbing. So, with that being said, I'll well, my main reason for starting this channel is try to bring the average Joe on the street up to date about what's going to happen. I do think we're going to have disclosure uh, within the next few years. They've been giving us hints, nudges all throughout our lifespan. Uh, One of the biggest that I can recall is the Phoenix Lights, where you had thousands of people that saw the craft going across Phoenix, Arizona. And if you haven't heard about that event, I would suggest that you look it up. There's a short video about what happened, how the governor, I think he was, I can't recall his name right now, Simon Fifton, I believe. Uh, he was the governor at the time. He actually witnessed the craft itself. He tried to investigate it. He was being stonewalled. So the only thing he could do, he thought for the best interest of the people at that time, he had a news conference, and they had a guy dressed up in an alien suit that came out, and he said basically, we got to the bottom of this, and we found out the culprit, and had the guy come out to make it like a laughing matter, and he said, you people are, you need to loosen up, lighten up, and all. But it made a lot of people angry. I'm talking about credible, well-established people, doctors, lawyers, people, that you wouldn't hear them talking about extraterrestrials or spacecrafts or whatever. They were angry because they saw this craft, they witnessed it, and to have somebody tell you that, it's no big deal is it made a lot of people angry. But that was a wake up call. That's a nudge by, let's say, those out there that want to help us. And mind you, when I say help us, they're not going to do it for us. They will help us along the way, but we have to help ourselves, which means we're responsible for what we do, which leads back to this prior election, what's going on. As I was leading before, I may be jumping around a little bit, but I'm new at this. I've sat back and witnessed things in my life, and I said, now is the time to come out. It's not time to sit back and just go along to get along, which is what we're doing in this, I call it a fake reality. Because things that exist, it's almost like we're in our own Truman Show or Matrix or whatever term, analogy you want to use. We're not living truth. And in order for us to move forward, we have to. So this past election is about getting rid of the corrupt people. Now, I'm going to go into this a little bit. Don't want to go into it too much. Well, let's say it, let me put it this way. There are top things we have to touch on in order for us to move forward as a nation, as people, not divided as Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, whatever. We all have to be on the same page because this affects us all. And it's not about party. There are a lot of people out there that they just support the party and they don't care who the person is or what they do. It's just, oh, I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican. And I support the person that comes forth. I supported Democrats for a good while, but back when we had the Clinton election, I was disillusioned with Clinton, the first election. I voted for Ross Perot. Why? Because he was coming out talking common sense about things that needed to be done. That, there's not a lack of answers. There was a lack of will to do the correct things. And he could have, in my opinion, won that election, but he dropped out and then he got back in. But even if he had won, he probably wouldn't have gotten a lot of things done because of the opposition he would have had in the House and Senate. Now, let there be no mistake. Both of these parties answered to the same people behind closed doors. They played the good cop, bad cop for us on TV, where we can see them, but behind closed doors, they had the gatekeepers, the main officials that kept everybody in line. So, rolling up to the first Trump election, I didn't vote for Trump the first time. I listened to what he said, but I wasn't sure whether or not he was serious about what he was saying he was going to do. Now, it piqued my interest when, during the primaries, he told Jeb Bush that your brother knew about 9/11 and he did nothing, which really piqued my interest about him because I'm like, you're saying things that I would think you wouldn't want to say, could get you in trouble. But it showed me that he wasn't a part of this group. And more as it went along, and you saw all the people that were opposing him. Now, I would ask people to think it's very strange that this guy was beloved by a lot of people before he ran. I mean, even the people that are the biggest critics and calling him a racist and all of these things, they were the same people that were just dying to be caught in a photograph with this guy, to have pictures taken with him. So you have to think, well, what changed? He was a racist before. Now all of us, he was a good guy before. Now all of a sudden he's a racist. He's all of these bad things that didn't make sense. I would say this to older folks that should know better, because they had the opportunity to see these things firsthand, which is amazing to me how you can just go along with things that you know aren't true. And by the way, a lot of people, young folks, don't know that Jesse Jackson ran for president back in the day. And when his campaign got in trouble financially, guess who came to bail him out? It was Donald Trump. So, how's this guy such a racist is beyond me. But anyway, that's part of the lies that they would manipulate and tell. And a lot of young folk will go along with this, because one of the biggest things that I find that people don't do is research. They merely take everything that the media says and go along with it, which we're all programmed for that, because you want to trust in the media and you want to trust in your government. But as things go along and you see, hey, there's something wrong with this picture, if you're paying attention. Now, what they've cleverly done, capturing all of society, the things we do, as far as movies, Hollywood, music, they control the reality that we live in. And people more and more stop paying attention to the values that we should be paying attention to. Another thing I'll tell you here too, and some people may not like it, but I'm going to say it. Some of the biggest morons we have are so-called educated people that if you don't have a degree, they're not willing to listen to you. They feel that they are a few levels above you, that you don't qualify to discuss or have an opinion. I have family members that I can't even talk to. I'm not a college graduate, so I guess I don't rate. However, hopefully these people are going to come along and understand as things unfold, because, as I said before, we all have to live on this planet, and whatever happens, happens to all of us. So, I guess in a way, I want to be there to help explain things. Uh, as I've seen them, I've been paying attention for a good while, as I said. And when you have been nudged to say, hey, when somebody taps you on your shoulder, hey, pay attention, pay attention. And that's what, I don't know, my guides or whatever you want to call them, as things unfolded like in my younger life, that made me pay attention to everything that was going around me and making me understand that there's something very wrong with this picture. So, going back to what we're going through now, this prior election is about getting rid of the criminals, the gatekeepers, which I call them. If you've been paying attention, listening to the things that the president-elect has talked about doing and releasing, I think they're going to get rid of a lot of waste in the government. Number one, they're going to put us back on a economic footing. But I think this all is preparing us. And by the way, the Republican Party, as I said before, both of these parties were in deep, what they call a swamp. These people are just in it to enrich themselves and all. Well, what the Republican Party did when Trump came in is they got rid of a lot of this old guard. Okay, it could have very well happened on the Democrat Party if Trump had ran in that party, because coming up, he basically was a Democrat, giving to both sides, actually giving donations and so forth. But Hillary was the heir apparent in the Democrat Party, so the path forward was in the Republican Party. So, getting rid of all of these, I call them criminals, or bootlickers, um, and filling the party with people that wanted to do for the people, for society, giving the power back to the people and making their government responsible to them. Whereas the Democratic Party, you had people, hey, you got to toe the line, vote this way, stay in line and you'll be taken care of. That's basically what's going on. There are very good people in the Democratic Party, but there was only a few that were willing to stand up. People like Tulsi Gabbard and Joe Manchin and a few others. But basically, knowing that this agenda that they were pushing is total BS. I mean, think about it. A lot of people, I think, aren't paying attention. Well, they started waking up to it, but exactly what was going on down on the border. And I would talk about it all the time to people around me that supported the Democrat Party. I'm saying, you don't understand, that they are trafficking children and women, and that has to stop. But like, it was as if a lot of people didn't want to acknowledge that because they didn't want to say that they were wrong. A lot of people have a problem with admitting that they're wrong. I think it's healthy if, hey, admit that you're wrong about something, or you could be shown uh, the other side of things. I think it's healthy. I always say to people, I enjoy having conversation. If I may have a strong feeling about something, well, show me where I'm wrong. I'm always I try to take a logical approach to it. Show me where I'm wrong, and I'm glad to accept that as a learning experience and helping me develop myself. But this is where we are right now. Um, as far as getting over this hump of getting these people out of position where they have been controlling our lives with bad decisions, worldwide decisions. You know, um, this thing with Ukraine and Russia. A lot of people should take the time to understand what that whole conflict is about. In my opinion, Russia is not an aggressor. They're only looking out for themselves. You have to understand when the wall came down, one of the agreements that the West had with Russia was that none of those satellite countries would become part of NATO. And yet, one by one, they've gradually enlisted them in NATO and crouching on Russia's doorstep. Now, a lot of young folk may not recall or know anything about the Cuban Missile Crisis. It's one of the scariest times in history where we almost had nuclear exchange between Russia and the United States. Russia was wanted to put missiles in Cuba right on our back doorstep, and we weren't going to allow it. So in the same token, this is what Putin of Russia is saying. We're not going to allow you to have Ukraine, which, by the way, a lot of Ukrainians on that western side of Ukraine, they're actually Russians. The two provinces that they annexed, Crimea, the Donbass region, those are Russia sympathetic people there. I was fortunate to work at a place that employed people from all over. I mean, I've worked with people from India, Africa, China. I was a guy that was from Ukraine when the wall came down. He actually, back during that time, Russia was going through hard strife. I mean, they were financially ruined, broken. I think it was one time that the U.S. had to send grain to Russia for them to make it during the winter time. But with all of that happening, I was elated because it seemed like our relations with Russia that was supposed to be like our biggest adversary, it was over. The Cold War was over. But then all of a sudden, what happened? All of a sudden, now Russia has become, the evil empire again. Why? Because people here, these Western criminals, have to have a boogeyman to scare us so that they can do their dirty deeds. That's what's going on. But the tide is turning now. President-elect Trump has said that he's going to release all of the Kennedy papers, which is going to expose what exactly happened. And I think for older folks, maybe not a lot of young people, because they didn't live during that time. But for a lot of people my age, a little younger than me, to find out the real people behind the assassination of Kennedy, is going to be eye-opening for them. My understanding, Johnson had something, his vice president had something to do with it. He was involved in it. In fact, his at the time, a lot of people don't know this. Johnson was getting ready to go to jail for banking schemes that they were running down in Texas. But if it wasn't for Kennedy's assassination, he probably would have been in jail, indicted, and held accountable for those things that were going on in Texas. But his girlfriend at the time, I saw this on a, I don't know if you call it a documentary, but people that talked to his girlfriend at the time said that he said, I won't have to deal with these Kennedys after tomorrow, which was the day before the assassination. So apparently he was in on it. But either case, I think the things that come out are going to be eye-opening. Now, to the where does this all lead us? It's about us straightening our house, getting our house in order, so that we can prepare to meet our brothers and sisters from the stars, the neighborhood, so to speak. If my understanding, if you were to take a bag of sugar and you poured it out on the table or the floor, and each one of those grains of sugar represented a race of beings, we would not come close to the amount of alien races within our galaxy. That's how many they are. If people don't understand how vast our universe is, yet alone our galaxy is huge. Contains trillions of stars. And they've come out and even said, I believe each star has at least one planet they're finding out now every star has at least one planet, if I'm not mistaken, um, circling it. So again, if you think about life and the things that make up life, the materials, the substances that you need to make up life, to think that it just exists here on this planet, well, you're not being very logical, number one. Number two, if you look at our history, it's more than evident that they are beings that have been here and coexisted with us, have helped us, mankind, along the way. You may have looked at them as gods, as heavenly beings, whatever term you want to use. In my humble opinion, they're no different from us. I speak of. I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person. I believe in creation as the source of all. I think when we use the term God, it's referring to a being that has evolved way, way before us, and it's being very, very well had a hand in our development. But that being is not creation. And some people may, oh, that's blasphemy, nah, there's only a God and that's it. Well, that's your interpretation, and everybody's entitled to their own beliefs. I'm a person that feels that, hey, you can believe what you want to believe as long as you're not harming someone else. And if that's what it takes to get you by, then so be it. There's nothing wrong with that, because we're all having a journey, experience. We're explorers, experiences, whatever term you want to use in this reality. But our focus right now is to experience this reality in truth, meaning all of the curtains have to come down. We have to know the true reality that we're living in, that there are other beings going back and forth, visiting here, watching, looking at our development. My understanding, there is something like if people watch Star Trek, there is something similar to a federation of planets where beings that look to help in the development of lower evolved species, races on those planets, but it's within their progress and their willingness to accept certain things, because again, we have free will. If we don't want to be bothered as a whole, we have a consciousness that we all share that can be felt out there. And when we all decide that we want to move forward and we want to uh, become part of that galactic community, then it's going to happen. Now, there are technologies that have already been developed by, for lack of a better term, I would say like a breakaway civilization, a group of so-called, they want to think of themselves as elites. Uh, they feel that all the resources of this planet belong to them. They feel that they own us, actually. That we don't measure up. They are in position to enjoy these things that we all should be enjoying. And this is part of the fight that we're in right now. We all can be living, I'm talking about every living soul on this planet. There's no reason why anyone should be going to bed hungry, that anybody should be lacking of anything. There's no reason. The reason that it happened is because of greed and people that want to exert power over others, which is unconscionable. So this is what we're looking at. If you follow what's been going on with disclosure, we've had many people that have put their life on the line trying to bring forth this information as far as we're not alone. The ET disclosure of other races out there that have been visiting us. There have been a lot of groups, people that have come forth with a lot of information. Some of those folks that I've followed over the years, I'm talking about years, way back like 90, in the 90s, 95, 96 or so. So we're around there. As I said, I was awakened a long time ago. And when these things started coming out, I was like, finally. I had my first experience was, I was around 13 in Baltimore at a drive-in. It was called Collins Drive-In Theater. And we had light craft flying high in the air, but we can see them. It was almost like they were putting on a aerial show. They would go back and forth, flying back and forth, crisscrossing, and this all went on for like 15 minutes, and I'll never forget when they left. By the way, no noise, all silent. The best way I could describe them would be if you ever see like the blip on a hospital monitor, it goes up, blip, and the line goes across. Well, they were just streaking by like comets, only they weren't fast. They were very slow with the tail, and they were going back and forth, crisscrossing. But when they left, they came at each other at incredible speeds, and right before they hit, they turned up, shot up, and disappeared into the stratosphere. And it was like everybody was in awe. and clap when it was finished. But it was like it was so amazing. Always it left an imprint on my mind. It was okay. We aren't alone. When is this going to come out? And this happened right around the moon landing. I believe it was before the moon landing. It might have been like 68, 69. Anyway, um, so I had that experience, and it was years later that I was listening to a radio station that was talking about UFOs, and is there life out there? And they called in. They had call in if you had any experiences you want to share. So I called in and told that story, and as I was getting off, there was the delay, and I can hear my voice on the radio, and it was like not the next call, but the call after that. Someone called in, and the guy was so excited. He was like, "Oh, the guy that called in uh, just a while ago about being at the drive-in theater." So I had a friend that talked about, it, and he told that, and nobody would believe him, and he told the exact same story about seeing this thing, and he was like, it's like now I believe him because there was somebody that confirmed his story. So that was good to hear, because I would tell my brothers and sisters and people around me, and they were like, "Oh, really? Okay." And the thing about it too was my oldest brother, who's now deceased. Um, he drove. It was me. It was him, and I'm thinking that it was he may have had a his girlfriend, and it might have been me and my another sibling, and we probably went, as little chaperones, so to speak. Cause that's like my mom. Yeah, y'all can go, but you got to take your brother and sister, So, but I can't recall which of my siblings was there, but I remember it was my oldest brother because he drove, and I think, like I said, I was like at the age of like 13, and we went to see a Matt Helm uh, movie with Dean Martin playing the agent, secret agent. So anyway, that was my first experience. Then later on, I had another experience where at that time I had a telescope that uh, I used to look at the stars, and the moon and so forth. Um, there was I saw a craft coming over like the housetops. I could see it coming. Which I thought was a helicopter. No noise, um, but the lights were blinking. But it was strange to me because I knew, like planes, they had like, the green light, red light on the wingtips. But this particular vehicle had blinking lights running along, kind of like below the bottom of it, which I felt was strange. So I was like, "Oh, that must be a helicopter, with lights like that because it's moving so slow." And so I swung my telescope around to see if I could get, you know, see it in my telescope. So I was trying to locate it, and as I located the vehicle, as I recall, it seemed oblong, and it had lights flashing on the bottom like red, blue, green, like it was going around. I don't know if they were just going off in place, but it seemed like it might have been going around the vehicle. But toward the top, it had like a rectangular window. Now there was a being at that window. I could see him, it seemed like from almost like chest up. And I could see his face. And it was only for like 2.5 seconds. And it shocked me because as I looked at his face, I could see him, but I got the impression of I see you and I know that you see me. And it made me jump back from the lens. I mean, it kind of shocked me because I could actually feel that presence. And I jumped back, and then I went to try to capture the vehicle again in the scope, but I couldn't. That always stuck with me. And I mean, it was a feeling of connectivity, and which felt so strange, but that has always stuck with me. His face seemed like pale, like light skin pale, but his face was without expression, but yet seemed stern, like like I could say it like a a BS type person. You know, I mean, it was like real stern, like emotionless. You know, without emotion. But either way, I remember those two instances, and as I grew up and older, I was in the service, and there were a few things that happened. At one time, this wasn't in the service; it was after I was out of the service. There was an incident that I felt I should have died. It had to do with it was a traffic incident, but for some reason, I think I was saved. So little things like that leads me to think that there are purposes in our lives that we're here to accomplish. I think this is my reason, or part of the reason that I'm here, to help explain or express or tell people that we are not alone, that the biggest story of our lives is about to unfold. And when it does, we're going to be the better for it for so many different reasons. But we're about to enter a new era where I think things are going to change almost like overnight as far as how we live. And it's going to be for the better. So, good times are ahead. We just got to get through this rough patch. And we got to do it together. That's what we have to do. We have to do it together. We have to come together. Uh, I watched so many these little short videos of people losing their minds about the president elect, and I went to bed a free person. I woke up as a slave, and it's a whole bunch of ridiculous nonsense. And that's all it is. It's nonsense. And I would invite any person that says that I'm wrong to prove me wrong. You know, show me where this guy is a dictator and he's now remind you he's already been in office one term, and all they've done since he was in office up to this very day is victimize the guy. You know, if anything, um, it's the reverse. But it's about people educating themselves and not just following what they see on TikTok or uh, these legacy media outlets are bought and paid for. They're nothing more than media whores. You know, getting paid, and they're doing the direction of those that control them, which is control the information because we want to control the people. But I don't know about you. I want to know what's happening around me. I want to know the truth, you know, whatever it may be, and accept it and move on. So with that, I'm gonna close this out. What I plan on doing is bringing forth some. I don't want to deal too much with the political side of things that are going on. Maybe only if it's positive things like as far as energy and so forth, job creation, and moving forward in a positive direction. Because all of these negative things, they're just going to fall to the wayside. What I'm looking forward to is the day, and I want you all to listen to this, the day that I can stop making these videos. Because once we have disclosure and we all know that we're not alone, then I think my job is done here and I can move on to what the next phase of what I think another route I'm supposed to follow. So with that, this is Curtis signing out with the Rude Awakening. All of you